Well, the Cavaliers close out their homestand on a high with a 120-105 win over the Los Angeles Clippers. That Clippers team obviously has a lot of star power. So a big one tonight. We got you covered, obviously, with CavsRoundtable.com. Also right here at the Cavs Roundtable YouTube channel, where Spence and I often join each other for these post-game conversations. Spence, I'm going to lean on you heavily in this conversation because admittedly, I was busy covering another event not in Cleveland, but another Cleveland sports team tonight. So I truly only saw like bits and pieces of this game. But first of all, I'll let you have the floor just to share, I guess, your overall thoughts on what was a solid performance tonight for the Cavaliers to sort of send this home, to wrap up this homestand and get themselves heading on a road trip here coming up on a good note.
Yeah, really, honestly, the only drawback I think of tonight and drawback that they've had all season is the rebounding. Ivica Zubac, every time they play this guy, he looks like $1,000,000, and he was having his way with the jump hooks. He was getting offensive boards, getting defensive boards, just really being used in the pick and roll, back to basket, whatever it was. So I'll start with that just being the negative. But overall, man, I mean, having a 4-2 homestand amid the injuries, having a 12-6 record at this point of the season, which is pretty much like, I don't know if you want to call it the quarter pole. I don't know if we're there yet. Maybe the 1/5 mark. I don't know. Not good at the math whole thing here. It's also Sunday and I'm a little hazy, but it's, I think it's a good thing. I think it's a good thing. You're seeing a lot of the development from the young guys. Tyrese Proctor had a good game today. Nae'Qwan Tomlin came in, gave a punch today, a literal punch, when he had a fast break dunk, made a three from the corner, also providing those rebounds, fighting for rebounds, all that stuff. We know what Jalen Tyson provides. I thought he had a very mature game today, was in foul trouble, had 3 fouls, like right off the rip, going to guard, James Harden, and, stuck with it in the second half, ended up playing significant minutes as per usual. But I mean, the story is Donovan Mitchell right now. Like Donovan
How
Mitchell,
could it not be?
so many times we just kind of gloss over him because we're like, oh, what's going on with Evan? Oh, what's going on with Darius Garland? Like, and it's just so easy to just forget the main character in this. And he would probably hate that. He would probably hate me saying that, but like he deserves the praise. The way he's playing right now, and the way he's played all season, aside from that like 2 or 3 game stretch where the hammy was bothering him, he's been an MVP candidate. Like plain and simple. And it's him starting on the inside and then getting it going on the outside, and it's all different sorts of ways. Kenny really liked his passing tonight. He hooked up with Evan Mobley, I believe, 4 times. 4 of his assists were to Evan Mobley. 2 of them were alley-oops. He had one at the end of the third quarter where he really changed the calculus of this game because the Clippers started to come back. Like I said, Zubac was hitting every jump hook in sight. I think Nick Batum cut it down to a 1-point game. And then Donovan just said, all right, well, I guess I got to go into Donovan Spida mode. And lo and behold, hit the drifting to the left 3 that we all see him hit all the time. Got 2 and 1s, both consecutively. Went right through John Collins for one of them. Another one was off of an inbound pass, and he went up and under and drew a foul. And then closed the quarter, like I said, with this just beautiful little like touch pass to Evan Mobley, and he dunked it home to end the third quarter and give the Cavs, I think it was a 13-point lead, it might have been. So he's running out of words to describe it. I don't know how much you can talk about the same thing over and over and over again.
Oh, we'll find a way.
He said he kind of agreed. Danny Cunningham over at Locked On Cavs in the inside shot, he's like asking him, is this like the most complete you felt in your career? And he's like, yeah, like it's just kind of one of those things like where you're at this point in your life and point in your career where you see things differently. And it's probably one of those things where he understands where he's at in the career. He's thinking about the series that happened last year. Not that it's like occupying his mind, but that goes into the motivation for being in the best shape of his career at the beginning of the season this year, right? Like, so that's one example. Kenny Atkinson said that he's in his money time right now as an athlete, like in that prime area. So it's, a lot of people can take 30 a night for granted, but this particular 37 tonight, like, and it was, I mean, I know it says 22 shots, but I thought it was very efficient. I thought
Oh, I mean, it was
he was
14 to
he was
22. Of course, it was efficient. He shot
yeah,
63%.
exactly. You know, like he goes off for 37. Well, some people see the 22 shots and might think selfish because that's just
Yeah,
how
yeah.
the you know the shooting guard world works and the high usage and all that stuff. No, this was a very, very, like I said, efficient night. Despite the high amount of field goal attempts,
Yeah.
he got his assists. He only turned the ball over twice, which was great. I think that's another thing. Got 8 boards again, like we saw last game. He got 8 boards, I believe it was too. So he's just hitting on all cylinders right now, man. And he said that he's really focusing on the turnovers and making sure that he's helping get on glass. So that's your summation of the evening. But Donovan Mitchell's definitely the lead headline here.
Oh yeah, I mean it has to be. I think we mentioned it the other night. He had played in 15 games and 9 of them he had scored 30 or more points. He added another one to that list. So in 16 games now, he scored 30 or more points in 10 of them. So I mean, like that, the numbers speak for themselves. 10 games out of 16, Donovan Mitchell has scored 30 or more points. Like that's pretty telling. He's firmly in the MVP conversation. That does obviously there's a long way to go in that conversation. It doesn't mean he's going to win it. With the way Shea's playing and he's not even playing like fourth quarters half the time, like he's probably still the front runner to win it. He's obviously got some other tough contenders in that conversation as well. Jokic among them.
Yeah, Jokic and Luka are also going off.
Sure,
There's a lot of talent. There's a lot of talent.
But Donovan certainly is in that conversation right now and deserves to certainly be talked about because he is playing at an extremely high level. And I think what's interesting too, Spence, is like early on in the season, a lot of that was just because they needed him, right? Like the with all the injuries, Evan still sort of adjusting to his role. Like he wasn't really sure where to take over at times. So to accumulate some wins, they just were like, all right, we're going to go to Don and he's going to sort of carry us at the end of games. And so he was playing a lot more minutes at that time. But tonight he did it in 32 minutes. Like his minutes actually went down and he still put up 37 points. And you mentioned the shooting, like 14 to 22, 5 and 9 for 3. Like he's just been super efficient. He's been super locked in. And it is, like you said, we are running out of words to describe it, but I don't want it to like slide to the back burner and do like the whole like, well, we're sick of greatness thing like we sometimes do with the MVP voting, because it is a fun thing to watch when Donovan Mitchell's playing at this level. And if he keeps it up all year, man, is it going to be one for Cavs fans to remember for sure.
I just loved seeing the connections with Evan Mobley tonight, though, because, a lot of the times we're thinking to ourselves, Donovan Mitchell's not really a point guard. And that's true. That's not his primary role, his primary strength. That's what DG's for. He's the one. He started the game off tonight with 5 assists in like the first 8 minutes. So that kind of loosened the defense up, started letting Donovan Mitchell get involved, that way. And so that's why Darius is so important, because that's going to make the defenses react, and then Donovan's going to be able to go to town, so to speak. But Donovan hooking up with Evan on multiple alley-oops tonight, on just really good looks that are closer to the basket. I think that's good because they have to get on the same page. There was one miss where Donovan faked that he was going to shoot a 3, and he fired in a bullet to Evan, and Evan wasn't looking, and Evan did one of those, my bad. Like, they're trying to get on the same page because they play together quite a bit. And they're the ones that come off the floor together. They go in there with those stints, those 4-minute stints and stuff like that. So that was an encouraging sign for me, just in terms of, lineups. I did want to mention some crazy different lineups tonight too, because, again, no CP, no Lonzo. So they were missing some ball handlers. Like I said, Tyrese Proctor got, some good minutes early, and he played a really good game. But I was, Kenny, in these wacky lineups, man, I really enjoy it. I did not expect to see Luke Travers play as much as he did tonight. Like, Luke Travers was out there. Luke Travers was out there with the starters to close the first half. That was kind of cool. And LT had a pretty good game. Even got a stop on an isolation against Kawhi Leonard. Like, how about that? He hits his first 3 this season. Nae'Qwan hit his first 3 this season. You had an interesting lineup with Darius Garland. It was like Dean Wade, Nae'Qwan, Larry Nance Jr., and Luke Travers. Like, what? I mean, that's the way I can say it, huh?
Yeah. Yeah.
But Kenny is not shying away from trying different stuff, and that's what I'm really appreciating about Kenny this year is he's willing to experiment. And man, like for all the bickering and the moaning and all that stuff because of certain games not going certain ways and stuff like that, like it's clearly what the season's for, as we said over and over again, the development of the young guys and try and crap out. And that's what tonight was again, for some of those lineups without CP, without Lonzo, no Sam Merrill, no Jared Allen again. So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and especially with all the injuries at the beginning of the season, I think it is the perfect time for Kenny to experiment a little bit and get those young guys some reps here early in the season that may be coming handy down the stretch when you're trying to make a playoff run. So valuable minutes, valuable experience here at this time of year. You mentioned some of the injured guys as they get ready for this road trip, Spence. What do we know in terms of the latest with Sam Merrill? What do we know about the latest with Jared Allen? Obviously, Darius Garland. We can assume he won't play tomorrow because it's the second night of a back-to-back as they start this road trip. But what's kind of the situation with some of these injuries and how that might unfold, or how guys might sort of get back into the mix here in the coming days and as they hit the road?
Yeah, no, it's just gonna be managing it. It's like he said earlier, like it's kind of like a turf toe, and he compared it to like what Brock Purdy was going through or what Joe Burrow was going through. It's just one of those things where they've got to understand how to manage it, and Darius has to understand how to manage it. He's got to communicate with Kenny to make sure that he's not going through too much pain. And there's nothing structurally wrong, there's nothing grave wrong with it, but it's going to be something that's going to be a tolerance and a management thing, probably throughout the season. It's just it is what it is, and you got to figure out what the right balance is for that. But Darius came away unscathed tonight. He took some good contact again, getting to the hole, and like I said, that first quarter was great. Sam Merrill didn't really have an update on him tonight, but last game, Kenny said that he thought that Sam probably comes back usually earlier than expected than a certain timetable. He didn't want to put a timetable on it, but that his wrist was pretty swollen. That occurred when he went to reach in on Giannis Antetokounmpo a few games ago, and Giannis is pretty strong with the ball. But hey, Sam did stick out that game and end up scoring 20 that night. So this is probably more precautionary than anything. Jared Allen missed another game with his right third finger. They're calling it a strain. I'm wondering if this is still the same broken finger that he was going through. Maybe it's a little healed up, but I mean, it'll probably be a game by game decision at this time right now, I'd assume. I wouldn't be surprised if he played tomorrow. There's nothing like extra that's happened to it, I guess. CP had a hamstring strain today, so he didn't play. And then Lonzo was just injury management. So that's who pretty much was out today. Nothing really new on Max Strus. We learned last week that he's progressing and he's shooting on the court again, so that's good. But that's still like no contact. There's not even remotely in the return area yet. So we'll see how that progresses too. But again, like good opportunities for Tyrese Proctor. Good opportunities for. I thought Dean Wade was great on the glass tonight. He was in there battling with John Collins, and doing a good job of really making James Harden work today. They did a good job on James Harden coming off a 55-point game. Like I said earlier, Jalen Tyson, he drew a tough assignment, and he did hack. He did hack in the first quarter and did get into foul trouble, but stuck with it in the second half. Played a good game defensively. Wade did a good job, like I said, on Harden. I thought DeAndre Hunter did a heck of a job on Kawhi Leonard. Kawhi's first game in 10 contests. So, and DeAndre had a really good game too. We didn't even get to that. And Evan had a double-double. It's the second straight game where Evan's gotten into the double digits and rebounding too. So, you want to talk about that? Like it's well, there's positives here.
Yeah, I think it's worth hitting on both those guys real quick because not to like gloss over, especially Evan, but I do think these last couple games you've seen sort of Evan at his best, right? I mean, 18 points tonight. I think given everything that we're talking about with his, him taking that leap and all that, I think people probably want a little bit more scoring from him there. But when you got Donovan dropping 37, you didn't need it tonight. but the fact that he's putting up double doubles, the fact that he's consistently done that. And off of that, like DeAndre Hunter, like these are what we've seen lately from both of them, I think, are like the versions of them that the Cavs need if they're going to be at their best, if they're going to make a run deep into the playoffs, if they have those championship aspirations. So I'm encouraged by the fact that, we talked so much about Hunter fitting into that starting lineup and him being that X factor sort of player here. The fact that he's kind of finding his stride, and even with some of the injuries that have occurred, the fact that Evan seems like, especially with DG back, he's getting back into feeling more like the Evan Mobley that we've known him to be, and hopefully growing on that. So there's a lot of good that comes out of that. And now they get to kind of take it on the road here and see if they can keep it up in a different place that's maybe a little more unfamiliar.
Yeah. And just one more point with DeAndre. Kenny said that he thinks that Darius being back will help Hunter get more uncontested threes. He thinks a lot of DeAndre's triples have been a little bit more of the pull-up variety, and some of them have come with some traffic in his face. Now with Darius going in there spraying out to the corners, and I'm not saying you want to just spot up DeAndre Hunter and that's it,
right?
Because he's done a good job handling this year. I think he's improved as a passer, and he's expanded his game for sure. But when he's on the floor with Darius and with Donovan and stuff like that, having a spot-up guy like DeAndre Hunter might not be a bad idea. So every possession you can change it up, whatever lineups you need to change it up. But getting him to good spots, getting DeAndre into good spots, good places to touch the ball. And like you said, same with Evan, closer to the basket. Just at least start on the inside and then get it going from the outside, because Evan airballed both of the threes that he tried to take tonight. So that wasn't the greatest sight. And also the free throw thing is still an issue with Evan. Went 0-4 tonight, front rim. It's all mental right now for him.
Yeah.
But again, I don't want to take away from the good today because he played well. I know that Zubac's had his way with him, but that's also because I think Zubac has probably 50 to 60 pounds on Evan Mobley. So
right.
It's that's just kind of what's going to happen. You got to stick to your strengths and whatnot. But road trip starts. You got Toronto tomorrow night, second night of a back-to-back. As I said earlier, Kenny confirmed that Donovan and Evan are going to play. So my assumption is, it'll be Lonzo back in the fold there. We'll see if Craig gives it a go. We'll see if JA gives it a go, but should have regular cast of characters except for, DG, and I'm guessing Sam will probably not play tomorrow, if I had to guess. So that's my view of the situation.
Yeah.
So they got Toronto and then they got Atlanta on Friday. So that means they actually have a little bit of time to here this week, right?
Yeah.
Because they've been playing every other game.
Friday's a cup game too. Big one, because if they win by a certain margin, they can maybe get in. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, that's possible. They've played every other day for the last 2 weeks. This week is going to be good for them. You got the game Monday in Toronto, and then you got 3 days to at least exhale.
Is there anything, Spence, you're hoping to see out of this? It's a short road trip, but just from the team this week, especially getting off their feet. Like, what are you looking for, if anything? Especially in this rematch against Toronto. I know it's the second night of a back-to-back, but which was a team that, not a little over a week ago, last Thursday, or I guess now 2 Thursdays ago, beat them. And that was a pretty big topic of conversation for fans, because they felt like, the S word came back out and all those different things. So just what are you looking for, I think, in these next 2 games before they get back home?
I want to see how Evan attacks Scotty after the last game, because Scotty absolutely abused him. Yeah, in that one. So that's my number one thing. And then number 2 is, how does the bench play? Because Jamal Shed and those guys off the second unit, Sandro Mamashvili, those guys were destroying the Cavs bench in both games. So can you get that right? Or is it one of those things where Toronto just has your number this year and it is what's going to be? Because second night of a back-to-back, again, road home. They flew out tonight right after we talked to them in the interview room at 10 p.m. So they'll probably get into Toronto, I'm guessing, around 11:30 or midnight. Get a good night's sleep and hopefully be okay at the Toronto arena tomorrow. And then you have Atlanta on Friday, but you have days in between at least that you can pick up your breath a little bit, and exhale, and only 3 games coming this week. How about that, right? It's Toronto, it's Atlanta, and then on next Sunday you have the Celtics coming into Cleveland. So it's finally they can exhale a little. And shoot, we can exhale a little bit because I feel like I've lived here. I feel like I've lived here for the last 2 weeks. So it's good though. It'll be good for them.
No doubt. Mini road trip for the Cavs. We'll see if they come home and punch themselves a ticket into the Emirates Cup, or if it buys them some time to sort of get off their feet a little bit and get while the Cup's going on, which I think is probably something they really need, especially with all the injuries that they've had. But November is starting to wind down. December is nearly here, and that means the intensity is picking up for the Cleveland Cavaliers. But another big night for Donovan Mitchell. Another good win for the Cleveland Cavaliers. They keep it rolling. We'll see if they can take that show on the road. Make sure you follow along as we got you covered on this road trip over at CavsRoundtable.com. Also, subscribe here to our YouTube channel if you're not subscribed already. Spence and I often doing these post-game conversations. We'll have our podcast this week at some point, middle of the week-ish. And much, much more content for you over there, including the post-game press conferences from tonight. Donovan talked. Kenny talked. I'm sure
we're the only one with Donovan tonight too. We're the only one with the Donovan video tonight, so make sure to go check that out, guys.
Oh, the only ones. Look at that, exclusive to Cavs Roundtable. Donovan Mitchell, go check that out. Appreciate you guys coming hang out with us. Spence, appreciate you as always. Make sure you keep on following along with all things Cleveland Cavaliers with Cavs Roundtable.